So, what if I told you that the very foundation of how you are trying to change your life is, well, it's based on a complete mathematical and physical impossibility?
Right, which is a massive statement to make right out of the gate, but it's true.
It really is. I mean, think about this for a second. You know that feeling when the alarm goes off at like 6:00
Yeah,
a.m.?
yeah, the dread.
Exactly, the dread. And before you even open your eyes, you were just already exhausted. Not just, physically tired from a bad night's sleep, but this bone deep, soul level exhaustion.
Because you feel like you're doing everything right.
Yes, you are playing by all the established rules of success. You're hustling, you're grinding, you're, sacrificing sleep, skipping your lunch breaks, doing all the extra shifts,
Pushing the boulder up the hill.
pushing this massive, heavy boulder up a very steep hill day after day, just trying to physically force your life to change. And yet you look at your bank account or your stress levels or your relationships.
And they look completely identical to a year ago.
Exactly identical. It is so infuriating. And today, we're really going to explore exactly why that boulder keeps rolling back down to crush you.
Because the frustration you're describing, it's really the defining psychological epidemic of our modern era. I mean, people are out there doing the math, and the math just isn't mathing.
Right, like you put in the effort, you should get the result.
Exactly. You input 1,000 units of sheer physical effort, and you receive, what, maybe 2 units of actual reward? It creates this deep, chronic resentment.
Which makes total sense.
It does. But the texts and the independent research we're examining in our session today, they reveal something really profound. The rules of reality we've been handed aren't just, slightly flawed. They are entirely inverted. They are backward.
And I want to set the stage here because the listeners tuning in today, you guys already have a firm grasp on the basics of personal development, right? You get the general concept that our internal states affect our external lives.
Yeah, we don't need to do the basic thoughts become things preamble today.
Exactly. We are skipping right past that. The mission for our exploration today is to unpack the actual granular mechanics of why the physical grind fails. We want to look at the hidden physiological and quantum roadblocks that keep us all trapped.
And more importantly, how to actually manually override that system.
Yes, the manual override. But to understand that override, we kind of have to understand the trap first.
Right. We're all operating under this inherited, globally accepted worldview. And it's firmly rooted in a purely Newtonian understanding of physics.
Meaning cause and effect. Physical stuff.
Exactly. This model basically insists that reality is strictly physical, it's mechanical, and it's entirely dependent on cause and effect. It tells you that to move a physical object, whether that's like a literal chair or your career trajectory or the digits in your bank account, you have to apply blunt physical force.
Action and reaction.
Action and reaction, exactly.
Which, to be fair, makes total logical sense to our brains, right? Because we interact with the physical world all day long. If I want to move my coffee mug right now, I have to reach out and physically pick it up.
Right.
So naturally, we extrapolate that to like our finances and our happiness. I want more money, so I must physically work 50 more hours.
It seems perfectly logical, yeah. But the research shows it's scientifically incomplete. And if you look at the historical context provided in the materials, this worldview wasn't just some byproduct of innocent scientific observation.
Oh, this is the part that blew my mind.
Yeah, the way we're taught to perceive reality was heavily institutionalized by early industrial education systems.
Okay, wait, I want to push back on that just slightly. Are we suggesting there was some deliberate, shadowy conspiracy to hide the nature of reality from the general public? Because that sounds, a bit dramatic.
I know, it sounds like a movie plot. But it's less about a cartoonish conspiracy and much more about systemic alignment. The goal of the 19th and early 20th century educational infrastructure, it was never to produce highly conscious, empowered architects of reality.
Right, they didn't want philosophers on the assembly line.
Exactly. The global economy required compliant, predictable, and resilient factory workers. And soldiers. Think about the structure of a traditional classroom, even today.
Sitting in straight rows.
Sitting in rows, moving only when a bell rings, strict adherence to authority, and critically, the heavy penalization of daydreaming or unstructured thought.
Wow. Yeah, if you stare out the window, you get in trouble.
Right. Because if you condition an entire population to believe they are merely physical cogs in a massive, uncaring material machine, and that the only path to survival is through sheer physical labor and obedience, They're never going to question the treadmill.
They'll just focus all their energy on trying to run faster on it.
Precisely.
So basically, you train people to optimize their output within the factory rather than teaching them how to, you know, build their own factory.
That's a great way to put it.
We've been handed a rule book for a game we are actively designed to lose. It's like we're driving on a highway where we've been conditioned to believe that green means stop and red means go, and we're just totally bewildered as to why we keep crashing into the median.
That is a highly accurate assessment.
Mm.
And the first step to stepping off that treadmill is understanding what the material world actually is, instead of what we've been conditioned to believe it is.
Okay, so let's get into the actual physics of it, because this is where the sources get really fascinating.
Yeah, the core truth revealed in the data we're examining today is this staggering statistical reality. The universe, including the room you are sitting in right now, is actually 99.99999% non-physical.
Okay, see, my brain struggles with this because my desk feels incredibly solid. And, the physical pain in someone's lower back after a 10-hour shift feels very real.
Of course it does.
The traffic I sat in today was infuriatingly dense. If reality is almost entirely non-physical, what exactly am I touching when I hit my desk?
You're interacting with the illusion of solidity, which is created by repulsive energetic forces. It's really mind-bending. If we examine the fundamental building blocks of matter, the atoms that make up your desk, your car, your own nervous system, the classical model we all learned in grade school is wrong.
You mean the one that looks like a little solar system?
Yeah, the solid nucleus orbited by solid electrons, like planets around a sun. That's the classical model. But advanced models show that the nucleus is vanishingly small, and the electrons aren't solid points at all. They're clouds of probability.
Clouds of probability.
Okay, let's scale it up to make it visual. If you were to scale up the nucleus of a single atom to the size of a marble.
Okay, normal glass marble.
Right. And you place that marble on the 50-yard line of a massive football stadium.
Got it.
The electrons would be the size of gnats buzzing around at the very highest grandstands of that stadium. And everything in between those gnats and that marble, the entire stadium, is completely empty space.
Yeah.
Or rather, it's not empty. It's filled with vibrating fields of energy.
So the physical matter, the actual stuff we can measure and weigh, the stuff we spend our whole lives stressing out about, it makes up just a fraction of a percent of what's actually there.
Less than that, honestly.
Yeah.
The physical world, as we perceive it, is simply the densest, slowest, lowest frequency form of energy. It's energy that is coalesced and slowed down just enough to become recognizable to the very limited bandwidth of our 5 physical senses.
This is a huge realization, because if 99.999% of reality is non-physical energy, and I'm spending 100% of my waking hours agonizing over and trying to rearrange the 0.00001% that is physical.
Right.
Well, no wonder the math isn't mathing. I'm completely ignoring the vast majority of the available material.
Exactly. You're attempting to alter the blueprint of a skyscraper by, scraping the paint off the walls with your fingernails.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. And this brings us to a foundational concept in the research, the idea of energetic history.
Energetic history, let's unpack that.
So everything currently existing in your physical life right now, the exact balance in your checking account, the condition of your physical health, the specific dynamics of your romantic relationship, that is not your current reality.
Wait, it's not?
No. It is a delayed echo. It is the physical manifestation of where your non-physical focus was stationed in the past.
Okay, I really want to isolate that concept for everyone listening. An energetic history. It suggests that my present physical reality is basically just a printed receipt for my past thoughts and feelings.
That is a highly functional way to view it, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, a receipt. And the materials utilize this really fascinating analogy to make the mechanism practical. The Lego factory.
Yes, I love this part of the reading. Walk us through the Legos.
Imagine your physical life is entirely constructed out of Lego bricks. Every circumstance, every mundane Tuesday commute, every argument, every financial windfall. It's a physical Lego brick sitting on a table in front of you.
Okay, I'm picturing a table just covered in different colored bricks.
Right. Now, when most people decide they want to improve their lives, they stare intently at the bricks they despise. They grab a blue brick of credit card debt or a red brick of marital stress, and they apply Newtonian physical force to it.
They try to smash it.
Exactly. They try to physically smash it, pull it apart, or forcibly mold it into the shape of a green brick of wealth or peace.
Which is Incredibly exhausting. It leads to massive burnout, and usually you just end up damaging the plastic while leaving the brick essentially the exact same shape it was.
Right, because you can't just squeeze a Lego brick into a new shape. But the actual mechanism of change requires realizing that those bricks did not spontaneously generate on your table.
They came from somewhere.
They were manufactured. They came from a factory. And that factory is the non-physical realm. That 99.999% of reality composed of your sustained thoughts, your habitual emotions, your energetic focus.
So if I want different bricks on my table, I don't wage war against the bricks already sitting there.
Exactly. You have to walk into the factory and submit completely new order.
Okay, but here's where the rubber meets the road. And I really have to challenge this premise on behalf of the listeners.
Go for it.
If all I need to do is place a new order at the non-physical factory, why is there a time delay? If I sit here right now in my studio and I generate a deeply focused, emotionally charged order for massive financial abundance, why don't I wake up tomorrow morning with a briefcase of cash at the foot of my bed?
It's the classic question.
Right. If energy is the foundational truth of reality, why doesn't my physical life reshape itself the very instant my mind changes?
Because the delay is not a glitch in the system. It is a fundamental law of physics, specifically rooted in the mechanics of concentrated particle flow and density.
Concentrated particle flow. Okay, break that down for me.
You have to consider the medium you're working in. In the non-physical realm, energy operates at a remarkably high frequency. Thought is instantaneous. You can imagine being on the moon right now, and your energetic focus is there immediately.
Right. I just pictured the moon. Boom! Done.
Exactly. But physical matter is incredibly dense and sluggish. For a non-physical frequency to condense into a physical object or circumstance, it requires a sustained, uninterrupted flow of energy over time. Imagine energy traveling down a very long vertical pipeline.
Okay.
At the top of the pipeline, it's lightning-fast, high-frequency thought, but at the bottom, it's dense, heavy physical reality.
So it literally requires time for the energy to decelerate, increase in density, and condense into a physical brick.
Yes.
It's kind of like freezing water. You can drop the temperature in the freezer immediately by turning the dial, but the water doesn't turn into a solid ice cube the very second you shut the door. The temperature has to be sustained.
That analogy holds up perfectly. It requires concentrated particle flow in a singular direction, sustained over time. And there is actually a secondary, deeply biological reason for this delay factor.
Oh, what's that?
It acts as an existential safety buffer.
A safety buffer.
Think about it. Human beings have tens of thousands of thoughts a day, and many of them are intrusive, fearful, or destructive. What if I crash my car? What if I get fired?
Oh, wow. If physical reality reacted instantly to every passing fear frequency,
We would manifest our own destruction within hours.
that is terrifying to think about. Okay, so the delay factor protects us from our own chaotic minds.
Exactly. But, as you pointed out, it also creates the exact trap most people fall into when trying to change their lives.
Because we get impatient. We place the new factory order on Monday. We do the visualization. We feel the abundance. We hold the frequency.
Yeah.
But by Wednesday, we look at the physical table in front of us.
And you don't see the new green bricks yet.
Right. The bank account still looks exactly the same. And what do? We panic. We look at the empty table and say, this is garbage. This isn't working. I am still completely broke.
And in that precise moment of reaction, you have effectively marched back into the non-physical factory and canceled Monday's order. You've actively replaced it with an urgent, emotionally charged order for more debt bricks simply because you were observing the delay.
It is the exact equivalent of ordering a custom piece of furniture online. And because it isn't sitting on your porch the next morning, you get furious, call the company, and cancel the order.
Yes.
And then you spend the rest of your life complaining that the universe never delivers anything to you when you are the one who actively interrupted the shipping process.
You severed the concentrated particle flow. If you intend for the physical reality to change, you must hold the new energetic order long enough and consistently enough for the heavy density of the material world to catch up to the frequency of the non-physical blueprint.
Which fundamentally shifts our entire job description as humans. The real work of life isn't the physical hustle at all.
Not at all.
The real work is maintaining the integrity of the factory order. We have to maintain the signal, regardless of what the physical table looks like.
Exactly. And to do that, we need to dive into the mechanics of how that signal is actually transmitted, which is our internal frequency.
Let's get into that, because this is where the research transitions from, theoretical physics into highly practical application.
Right. The sources introduce a concept referred to as infinite action.
Infinite action. Because most people believe they're only acting when they're moving their physical bodies or speaking, right?
Exactly. But the reality is you are a localized field of consciousness, acting as a continuous 24/7 vibrational broadcaster. You do not possess an off switch.
No off switch?
None. With an estimated 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts processing through the human nervous system every single day, coupled with the neurochemical emotions attached to them, you are constantly emitting a complex acoustic signature into the quantum field.
Okay, let's upgrade the classic radio dial metaphor here because our listeners are beyond that. I was thinking about this, and it's more like the principle of acoustic resonance.
Oh, I like that. Go on.
If you have two pianos in a room and you strike the middle C key loudly on one piano, the middle C string on the second piano across the room will begin to vibrate and produce sound all on its own.
Yes, sympathetic resonance.
Right. It ignores all the other strings because it can only interact with the specific frequency it's tuned to.
That is the perfect scientific analog. Your internal state is the struck tuning fork. If your dominant frequency is vibrating at the level of lack or anxiety or resentment, you are only going to resonate with circumstances, people, and opportunities that share that exact structural frequency.
You literally cannot experience a reality of vibrant health and abundance while emitting a frequency of victimhood. It is acoustically impossible.
It doesn't matter how hard you physically hustle, it doesn't matter how many networking events you attend, or how much you complain to your peers, the physics dictate that you must shift the resonance of your own tuning fork.
The text utilizes another analogy that I found incredibly sharp for this: the programmer.
Oh, the simulation analogy. Yes, explain that one.
So imagine you are in a digital simulation and it's housed within an infinitely tall building. You are currently trapped on the horror floor.
The worst floor.
The absolute worst. And the programmer assigned to that specific floor is commissioned with one job and one job only: to code horrific, terrifying, stressful scenarios.
Yeah.
That is their entire parameter.
Right.
So when you walk up to that programmer and start complaining, hey, this game is way too stressful, my character has no money, the lighting is depressing, and I'm constantly being chased by zombies, the programmer just nods, takes notes on your intense emotional engagement, and keeps coding more zombies and late fees.
Because they literally cannot code a romantic comedy.
Exactly. It is not within the physics of their floor. Complaining to the architect of your current reality is fundamentally useless. You have to get in the elevator and change floors.
Or to look at it through the lens of the buffet analogy from the materials.
Oh, I love the buffet analogy.
You're standing in a limitless buffet, but you are standing in a section that serves nothing but overboiled Brussels sprouts, which you absolutely despise.
Disgusting.
Right, but you keep putting them on your plate, eating them, and furiously yelling at the chef, I hate these. Why are you punishing me with this food?
Why is my life just Brussels sprouts?
Exactly. But the chef is simply the Brussels sprout attendant. The solution isn't to fight the chef, or to analyze why you deserve Brussels sprouts, or to violently smash the tray.
The solution is to put down the plate, pivot on your heels, and walk over to the dessert section.
Just walk to a different part of the buffet.
Which is a beautiful, intellectual concept. Just change floors, walk to the dessert section. But let's bring this down to the gritty reality of being human.
Because it's not always that easy.
It's rarely that easy.
Yeah.
Anyone listening knows that when you are locked in a severe mental spiral, like when your car just broke down, your bank account is overdrawn, and you just had a blowout argument with your spouse, you cannot just magically force your brain to feel ecstatic joy and abundance.
No, you can't.
So how do we actually turn the dial or change floors when the current physical reality feels so heavy and suffocating?
This is the exact point where most manifestation and personal development theories completely fail the practitioner, because they demand an immediate jump from severe distress to unbridled positivity.
Just think happy thoughts.
Right, which is impossible. But the materials we're referencing today bypass that trap by introducing a cognitive tool called the thinking ladder.
The thinking ladder.
The critical error everyone makes is attempting to jump from the very bottom rung of the ladder, deep despair, panic, rage, straight to the top rung of absolute bliss. If you attempt that, your psychological immune system will immediately reject it.
Because it creates massive cognitive dissonance. It's like a rubber band snapping back and hitting you in the eye.
Exactly.
Like you stand in front of the mirror holding a past due eviction notice and you force yourself to chant, "I am a multimillionaire, money flows to me easily." Your brain instantly fires back, "No, you aren't, you are actively failing."
And you actually end up feeling significantly worse.
Because you just highlighted the massive gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Precisely. The vibrational gap is simply too wide to cross in a single bound. So instead of attempting a quantum leap, you utilize the thinking ladder by reaching for a thought that is merely 1 degree higher.
Just 1 degree.
You look for the very next conceptual rung that feels genuinely true and slightly less resistant. So let's say your starting coordinate is, I am totally broke and I'm going to end up on the street.
A very real fear for a lot of people.
Very real. Now, the next rung is absolutely not, I am wealthy. The next rung might actually be a thought of anger, like, I am furious that I was never taught how to manage money.
Okay, wait. Anger is a step up from despair?
Biologically and energetically, yes, absolutely.
Really? How does that work?
Think about the energy required. Despair is apathy. It is a complete lack of movement. You're frozen. Anger, on the other hand, requires energy. It is a mobilizing force.
Oh, that makes sense. You feel a surge of energy when you're mad.
Right. And once you are safely on the rung of anger, you can reach for frustration.
It is incredibly frustrating that I have to work this hard just to survive.
From frustration, you might reach for a neutral acknowledgement of resilience. I am frustrated, but if I look at my track record, I have survived 100% of my bad days so far.
Wow. I can literally feel the physical relief in that thought. Just hearing you say it, it feels slightly lighter. The knot in the chest loosens a millimeter.
That's the frequency shifting. Then you continue the ascent. I can probably learn a new skill to manage the few resources I have. Then I have a comfortable bed to sleep in tonight, so I'm safe for the next 8 hours.
I possess a mind capable of understanding complex problems.
Exactly. With each deliberate thought, you are physically and energetically adjusting your resonance 1 microfrequency at a time. Within 15 minutes, you can successfully shift your nervous system from abject panic to a state of calm neutrality, or perhaps even cautious optimism.
You've essentially walked to the elevator and changed floors without triggering your brain's alarm system.
You sneak past the guards.
I love the mechanics of that. It completely removes the toxic pressure of having to be perfectly positive all the time. I don't have to be ecstatic. I just have to find a thought that is slightly less agonizing than the one I had 3 seconds ago.
It's very forgiving, and the research ties this gradual shifting mechanism together with a larger structural concept, the singular guiding objective.
This singular guiding objective, so this is like the North Star.
Exactly. It acts as the North Star for your frequency. If you do not possess a clear, singular, dominant focus, a definitive target, you're continually calibrating toward your 80,000 daily thoughts will be scattered in 1,000 conflicting directions.
It's like walking into the Lego factory and screaming, "Build me a sports car." No, wait, a sailboat? No, a cabin in the woods? Actually, just give me a sandwich.
Your workers wouldn't know what to do.
The factory machinery jams up, the workers throw their hands in the air, and the conveyor belt just spits out random, chaotic pieces of useless plastic.
A scattered focus produces a scattered reality. By maintaining a singular guiding objective, you organize the chaotic acoustic resonance of your mind into a coherent, laser-like energetic beam. You're explicitly dictating to the quantum field exactly which floor of the simulation you intend to inhabit.
Now here is where this exploration gets intensely fascinating and where we address the most common point of failure for people.
The relapse.
Yes, the relapse. Because if the thinking ladder is so perfectly logical, and if maintaining a singular guiding objective is the obvious mathematical path out of the horror floor, why is it so incredibly difficult to maintain?
It is the hardest part.
Why do our brains aggressively and violently pull us back down into the mud? I mean, you do the ladder, you calm your nervous system, you feel great, and then 3 hours later, you're doom scrolling and spiraling into an existential crisis again. What is the actual mechanism actively pulling us off the ladder?
This brings us to a concept that is absolutely paramount to understanding why human beings remain tracked. The texts refer to these invisible dynamics as pendulums.
Pendulums.
In various historical esoteric traditions, these same structures are referred to as thought forms, or egregores, or energetic entities. Essentially, these are non-physical autonomous structures that are birthed, survive, and grow by siphoning off human emotional energy.
Okay, let me stop you right there because I want to ensure we don't lose the listeners in mysticism. We aren't talking about ghosts or demons here,
Yeah,
right?
no, not at all.
We're talking about something much more structural. We are dealing with energetic parasites that form from collective human focus.
Correct. Let's look at the actual mechanics of how a pendulum forms. Whenever a large group of people focus their thoughts, beliefs, and emotional energy in the exact same direction, a resonant field is created.
Like a group obsession.
Yes. And over time, that field develops its own momentum, its own structural integrity, and critically, its own drive for self-preservation. Just like a biological organism, a pendulum seeks to survive.
Yeah.
And its sole source of sustenance, its food, is your emotional attention.
Okay, give me a concrete example of a pendulum in modern life so we can visualize this.
A political party is a massive pendulum. A globally televised sporting event is a pendulum. The stock market is a pendulum.
Oh, the stock market, definitely.
Even the concept of a specific disease can become a pendulum. And here is the terrifyingly brilliant, deeply insidious part of how pendulums operate. They are entirely agnostic to the type of emotion you feed them.
Meaning what?
They do not care if your attention is positive or negative. They feed strictly on the amplitude of the emotion. They feed on importance and reaction.
Wait, so if I am a diehard fan of a political movement, I am feeding its pendulum.
Yes.
But if I furiously, aggressively hate that exact same movement and I spend all day arguing against it online, I'm still feeding that exact same pendulum.
Yes. Your hatred is just as nutritious to the pendulum as your devotion. When you're vibrating with outrage at a nightly news broadcast, when you're seething with resentment toward a coworker, or obsessively panicking over a physical symptom in your body, you are actively opening a valve and draining your vital creative energy directly into that specific pendulum.
This is exactly like the architecture of an internet troll. Or, the algorithms running social media platforms.
That's a perfect modern comparison.
Right. If you see a troll posting something incredibly offensive in a comment section and you reply to them with a furious, highly researched, multi-paragraph essay utterly destroying their logic, you haven't won. The troll won.
They got exactly what they wanted.
They do not care that you proved them wrong factually. They only wanted your engagement. They wanted to hijack your emotional bandwidth and steal your time. The social media algorithm operates the exact same way. It will purposely show you things that enrage you because rage keeps you engaged.
Absolutely.
The only way to defeat the troll or the algorithm is to completely block, mute, and ignore them. You have to starve them of attention.
The modern internet troll is a flawless micro-expression of how a macro pendulum operates. If you fight the pendulum, you feed it. The more energy it extracts from you, the more influence it exerts over your internal frequency, subtly manipulating your thoughts to keep you tuned to its specific resonance, ensuring a continuous food supply.
So it traps you.
It does. And the text utilizes a highly vivid spatial metaphor to illustrate how we get trapped by this: the art gallery.
Okay, paint this picture for me.
Imagine you're standing in a massive, infinitely expanding art gallery. You walk into a room, and hanging prominently on the wall is a painting you absolutely loathe. It is a hyper-realistic painting depicting all of your worst failures, your crippling debts, your physical insecurities, and your deepest fears.
A nightmare painting.
Exactly. Now, what is the standard human response to this? We walk right up to the painting, plant our feet, and begin to complain about it.
They stare at it.
We stare at every single brushstroke, we point out the flaws, we call our friends to vividly describe how hideous the painting is, and we write essays about how unfair it is that this painting exists in our gallery.
And returning to the quantum mechanics of reality we're discussing, your focused attention acts as a magnifying glass.
Yes. The more you complain about the painting, the larger and more vibrant the painting grows. It begins to expand until it covers the entire wall and eventually the entire room. Your emotional resistance to your current physical circumstances, your complaining, your anxiety, your focused hatred of the situation is the exact energetic glue that binds you to it.
So, practically speaking, what is the strategy here? Because I can't just engage in toxic positivity and pretend the ugly painting isn't hanging right in front of my face. The debt is real. The illness is real.
The strategy requires a radical shift in behavior. The solution is not to wage war against the painting. You don't try to frantically paint over it, you don't try to tear it down, and you certainly do not stand there arguing with it.
It'll fight the troll.
Exactly. The solution is to acknowledge it is there, consciously lower its importance to zero, turn your back, walk out of the room, and purposefully navigate the gallery until you find a room, housing a painting you actually wish to experience. You must deliberately and methodically withdraw your energetic attention.
You literally have to ghost the pendulum.
Yes, ghost it.
But let's be honest, in the heat of the moment, when the adrenaline spikes and the panic hits, turning your back is incredibly difficult. If my boss is screaming at me or my transmission just dropped out on the highway, my attention is violently hijacked, my nervous system is flooded with cortisol, how do we break the grip right then and there before the pendulum drains us?
The research provides highly specific linguistic interventions designed for this exact threshold moment. They operate as psychological circuit breakers, rapidly de-escalating the emotional charge.
Circuit breakers. I like that.
The texts refer to these as storm breakers. When you feel a pendulum sinking its energetic hooks into your nervous system, when you feel that familiar surge of outrage, justification, or panic rising, you immediately deploy a phrase explicitly designed to drastically lower the importance of the event.
Because if the pendulum feeds on importance, dropping the importance starves it instantly. Let's work through an example. What does a storm breaker sound like in practice?
A primary, highly effective phrase is simply, "I live in a friendly universe that always has my back."
Oh, I like that.
Another incredibly powerful circuit breaker is, "I do not know why this is happening right now, but I know it is ultimately unfolding for my greater good."
I can actually feel how that alters the trajectory of a thought spiral. I mean, if I'm standing on the side of the road freaking out about a flat tire, my default reaction is to feed the flat tire pendulum. I spin stories. My whole day is ruined. I'm going to be fired. I have terrible luck. The universe hates me.
You build a whole disaster scenario.
Exactly. But if I pause, take a breath, and state, I don't know why this is happening, but I know it is for my greater good, it instantly deflates the panic. It introduces a pause. I stop feeding the beast.
It eradicates the resistance. The pendulum relies on your predictable reaction of anger or fear. When you respond with a frequency of neutral trust or calm acceptance, the pendulum literally slips off you.
It can't grab hold.
No, it cannot attach its hooks to the frequency of neutrality. This conscious linguistic shift acts as an immediate override, stopping the hemorrhage of your vital energy and naturally magnetizing higher frequency thoughts back into your conscious awareness.
Okay, this brings us to a massive transition point in our session today, and I think it's honestly the most critical piece of the puzzle.
The physical aspect.
Yes, because we have spent significant time discussing the cognitive approach, turning the dial, utilizing the thinking ladder, deploying linguistic storm breakers to starve pendulums. But what happens when the mind is simply too compromised to think its way out of the trap?
Which happens to all of us.
Sometimes when a pendulum hooks you deeply, the anxiety isn't just a mental loop occurring in your prefrontal cortex. It is a heavy, crushing physical sensation in your chest. Your stomach is in knots. Your autonomic nervous system goes into a full fight-or-flight response. How do we turn the radio dial when the static is intensely physical?
This is exactly where the true brilliance and synthesis of these source materials shine, because they bridge the historical gap between the energetic field and the somatic reality of the human body.
The body and the mind are connected.
Deeply connected. The physical body is not separate from the energetic field. It is the densest manifestation of it. It has an absolute one-to-one correspondence to these non-physical concepts. The texts introduce the framework of the emotional guidance system, which reveals that your physical body operates as a highly sensitive feedback loop.
It's like the array of indicator lights on a car dashboard.
Precisely. Experiencing negative physical emotion, a tight chest, shallow breathing, an unsettled stomach. It is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are broken. It is simply a somatic indicator, light illuminating on the dashboard.
Telling you what?
It's a biological notification that your current internal frequency is out of alignment with your singular guiding objective, and that your current factory order is actively producing Lego bricks you do not want. The physical discomfort is your body desperately trying to alert you that you are staring deeply into the wrong painting in the art gallery.
But our default cultural conditioning trains us to play what the sources call the feel-good-when game. We use the physical reality to dictate our bodily state.
Yes, waiting for the outside to fix the inside.
We tell ourselves, I will allow my shoulders to drop and feel relaxed when the debt is officially paid off. I will feel a sense of confidence and worthiness when I finally lose the 20 pounds. I will feel peaceful and successful when I receive the promotion.
And that is the ultimate trap of the Newtonian cause and effect mindset. Waiting for the dense, lagging physical reality to shift before you grant yourself permission to alter your internal physiological state. The sources we're examining unequivocally insist that you must play the feel-good now game.
The feel-good now game.
Because physical reality acts as a lagging mirror of your frequency. You are required to generate the somatic, physiological emotion of your desired destination before the physical environment catches up.
Oh, that's tough.
You have to tune your biological receiver to broadcast the vibrant rock and roll station while standing alone in an empty, quiet room, and trust the physics that the rock and roll band will eventually, inevitably, physically arrive.
Which, let's be honest, feels nearly impossible when your body is actively vibrating with the cortisol and adrenaline of anxiety. If the mind is trapped by the body's chemistry, we need a manual override.
And we have one.
So, the research provides a series of specific physical interventions categorized as energy and meridian techniques to literally, mechanically reset the body's circuitry when you are experiencing a somatic lockdown. Let's explore the mechanics of these techniques because this is the toolkit for when the brain refuses to cooperate.
The necessity of these physical interventions lies in their ability to bypass the cognitive loop entirely. When a pendulum has triggered your sympathetic nervous system, your prefrontal cortex, the logical reasoning part of your brain goes offline.
Right, you can't logic your way out of a tiger attack.
Exactly, which is how your body perceives the stress. The first technique addresses a state where your energy system is essentially operating in reverse, actively resisting the very things you want. It's referred to as rubbing the tender spot.
How does that work mechanically?
It involves physically locating and stimulating a specific neurolymphatic reflex point on your upper chest. If you feel just below the collarbone, usually on the left side, you will find an area that feels distinctly tender or slightly sore to the touch when you apply pressure.
Okay, let me try this. Just below the collarbone.
Yeah, I feel it.
It's a little tender.
This point is tied directly to the lymphatic system and the vagus nerve, which is the superhighway of the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system.
So you find that tender spot on the chest, and you begin to rub it firmly in a circular motion. But the research notes you don't just sit there rubbing it in silence. You have to cognitively acknowledge the resistance, correct?
Yes, the integration of the verbal component is what bridges the somatic and the cognitive. As you physically stimulate that vagal point, sending a calming biological signal to the brain, you must state the negative emotion or fear out loud.
What do you say?
You might say, even though I feel this overwhelming, paralyzing fear regarding my financial situation, it is okay. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
That is a profound psychological pivot. You are not suppressing the fear. You are not engaging in toxic positivity, gritting your teeth and screaming, I am perfectly fine.
No, you're not hiding from it.
You are physically comforting the mammalian body while mentally dragging the hidden fear out of the shadows and shining a spotlight on it. By accepting it without judgment, you completely strip the pendulum of its power. You drop the importance to zero.
Exactly. You are neurologically uncoupling the fear from the threat response.
That's amazing.
But what happens if the fear isn't just resistance, but a feeling of intense, chaotic fragmentation? When your energetic focus is entirely scattered like severe static on the radio dial, where you can't form a coherent thought, you transition to a technique called hand tapping.
Okay, I am familiar with the general concept of tapping, but I really want to understand the why behind it. What is tapping the hand actually doing to the nervous system?
The mechanism is deeply rooted in disrupting the amygdala, the brain's fear center. For this specific technique, you take the fingers of one hand and firmly, repeatedly tap the fleshy outer edge of your opposite hand.
Like the part of the hand you would use to deliver a karate chop.
Exactly, the karate chop point. This area is a major junction for meridian endpoints.
So I am continuously tapping the side of my hand. What is the cognitive pairing for this physical action?
As you maintain a steady rhythm of tapping, you simply repeat a grounding, neutral phrase, such as, I'm testing correctly, or I am here and I am safe.
I am testing correctly. I am actually tapping the side of my hand right now as we speak.
You feel it, right?
Yeah, it forces an immediate somatic grounding. The physical sensation of the tapping acts as an anchor. It forcefully drags the brain's attention back into the physical present moment, pulling it away from the horrific, imagined future scenarios the pendulum was projecting.
It interrupts the software loop. It functions as a systemic reboot. The mechanoreceptors in the skin send a signal to the brain that supersedes the internal thought loop.
That's incredibly practical.
Now, if the panic is severe, if tapping isn't enough to break the somatic hold, the materials detail a more intensive intervention known as the 7-second treatment.
The 7-second treatment.
Yes. This is utilized to physically flush deep emotional toxins and rapidly alter brain states.
Walk me through the mechanics of the 7-second treatment.
It relies on altering blood flow within the cranial cavity. When you are under intense stress, blood retreats from the prefrontal cortex and pools in the hindbrain, preparing you for basic survival reactions.
Well, I'm ready to run or fight.
Right. To counter this, you place one hand flat across your forehead, covering the frontal lobes. You place the other hand flat on the back of your head, cradling the occipital region. You apply gentle, steady pressure, pressing your hands inward toward the center of your skull.
You are literally physically holding your own head together.
Pretty much.
It creates a contained container for the energy. I can easily imagine sitting at my office desk, feeling a panic attack rising, and employing this posture.
It's very discreet. And while holding that structural pressure, you incorporate a highly specific respiratory pattern. You inhale deeply and forcefully, filling the lungs. You then exhale completely, emptying the lungs, all while maintaining the steady pressure on the front and back of the skull.
And you just do that for 7 seconds.
Executing this sequence for a mere 7 seconds creates a massive somatic release. It physically draws blood back to the frontal lobes. The immediate biological indicator that the energy has shifted is often a deep involuntary yawn or a heavy sigh.
Oh, a yawn. Because a yawn is the universal biological signal that the sympathetic nervous system has stood down.
Exactly. The nervous system has downregulated.
Wow. And there is one final technique provided in the texts, which is highlighted as the ultimate massive system reset for when you are utterly derailed. It's called collarbone breathing, and the physical choreography is highly specific.
It is the most complex of the interventions. It's designed to force cross-hemispheric communication in the brain, while simultaneously stimulating points that, according to the research, govern up to 50% of your body's total energetic capacity.
That's huge.
If a pendulum has deeply hooked you, this overarching system goes offline. To bring it back online, you must locate the small indentations just below the inner edges of your collarbones, right where they meet the sternum.
Okay, I'm finding them. Got it.
You place 2 fingers of one hand firmly into one of those indentations.
Okay, I have my fingers on the collarbone indent. What does the other hand do?
With your opposite hand, you tap a specific point on the back of the hand resting on your collarbone.
Where exactly?
Specifically, the groove located between the knuckles of your ring finger and pinky finger, known as the gamut point.
So I am physically bridging different sides of the body. I am touching the collarbone indent with the left hand and tapping the back of the left hand with my right hand. This feels like a complex neurological puzzle.
It is designed to be. The complexity forces the brain to pay attention to the body. While maintaining this physical bridge, you perform a rigid sequence of half-breaths. This is where the profound physiological shift occurs.
Okay, how do we do the breaths?
You breathe all the way in, expanding the lungs completely. Then you breathe halfway out and hold your breath.
Halfway out. Holding on a half breath is incredibly unnatural. It feels like it really challenges the respiratory center in the brainstem.
That is the exact intent. After holding the halfway point, you exhale all the way out, emptying the lungs. Then you breathe halfway in and hold it again. Finally, you exhale completely.
That is wild.
This highly coordinated, unnatural combination of cross-body physical touch, tapping, and interrupted respiratory pacing forces a hard reboot of the autonomic nervous system. It instantly forces 50% of your energetic capacity to surge back online, entirely bypassing the panicked, looping mind.
I am absolutely fascinated by how beautifully this methodology marries the cognitive and the somatic. It completely strips away the mystical fluff that usually surrounds manifestation or energy work.
It makes it a mechanical process.
Yes. You aren't just sitting in a dark room wishing for a sports car to appear. You aren't suppressing your emotions and trying to ignore a harsh physical reality. You are actively, practically utilizing your biological body as a tuning fork to manually change the channel on the quantum radio.
If the mind is trapped by a pendulum, you use the mechanics of the nervous system to pick the lock.
It returns complete agency to the individual. You are no longer existing at the mercy of lagging physical circumstances, nor are you a helpless victim to random cascading emotional states. You possess a tangible biological toolkit to repair the receiver whenever the signal degrades.
Which is incredibly empowering.
So, as we bring the threads of this exploration together, let's kind of synthesize the journey we've undertaken today. If you are listening to this, it is highly likely you entered the session feeling exhausted, stuck on that physical hamster wheel we discussed at the very beginning.
Battling the dense, heavy material reality.
Yes, furiously trying to smash delayed Lego bricks with a blunt hammer wondering why your immense physical effort wasn't yielding results. But what the synthesis of these scientific, historical, and physiological materials reveals is a profound, life-altering paradigm shift. You are not the worker sweating on the factory floor. You are the architect standing quietly in the control room.
That's the core of it. Human potential, when viewed through this corrected lens, is not measured by your capacity to endure physical pain, or your willingness to hustle, or how much grinding you can sustain.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. True potential is measured by how masterfully you can manage, guide, and protect your internal frequency. It is the art of catching yourself when you unconsciously wander into the wrong, terrifying room of the art gallery, gracefully turning your back on the ravenous pendulums of modern outrage and fear, and walking deliberately back toward the resonance of your singular guiding objective.
You possess the ultimate authority to choose your reality by consciously choosing your frequency. It is not always easy. It requires the discipline of the thinking ladder. It requires the vigilance of deploying storm breakers. And sometimes, it requires standing in a bathroom mirror, tapping your collarbone, and doing half breaths to wrestle your nervous system back from the brink.
But the control panel is entirely in your hands.
And as we conclude our analysis today, I know you had a final thought you wanted to share.
I do. I want to leave you with one final, broader reflection regarding the physics of what we have discussed. We have spent this entire session focusing inwardly, examining how mastering your internal frequency inevitably reshapes your own personal physical environment.
Your factory orders, your radio dial.
Right. But consider the quantum mechanics of what happens when a highly coherent, stabilized frequency enters a deeply chaotic space. Consider the concept of entanglement.
Oh, this is the perfect expansion of the core idea. Where does this lead us?
As you navigate the physical world, holding a radically new, high-level coherent frequency, as you refuse to feed the old pendulums of fear, lack, and division, and instead maintain a localized field of calm creation, you literally become a walking broadcast tower of sympathetic resonance.
Wow.
So the ultimate question to sit with is this. As you walk into a room, how does your new, powerful, energetic gravity silently rewrite the Lego factory orders for the people standing right next to you?
What an incredibly powerful thought to anchor on. You are not just rearranging the architecture of your own life. By simply existing in a state of high resonance, you might be the unseen catalyst that elevates the frequency of everyone you come into contact with. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today. We wish you the absolute best of luck as you step off the treadmill, drop the boulder, and step fully into your power as a conscious reality architect. Keep tuning that dial.